Hey guys, welcome back. This is video number 2 in our Amateur to ASA series. Today we're going to be having some upgrades, our first 2 upgrades. Over the past week or so since the last video, I've been working on a bunch of stuff. I guess the big upgrade is I got 70-pound limbs on this bow. I switched them over. Previously I had 60-pound limbs. It was running about 62 pounds, which was not enough. My sight tape was quite large, and so I wanted to get these 70-pounders. I have it set at 65 right now. It just gives me more room. I can move up and down and not be stuck right at 60 or 62. But got that done, and I have all the rest of these Gold Tip X Cutter Pluses done. And so today we're going to be getting my sight tape figured out with the new poundage and these new arrows. So I figured I'd take you guys along. I already got my 20 kind of figured out just to save a little time, but I have a blank sight tape on here, so I'm just going to shoot 20, probably do 12 arrows at 20, make sure it's pretty much dialed, and then I'm going to go back to 30, do as many arrows as it takes, and then keep going on. So let's get started. Alright, we are set up at 20 yards, and I'm going to make sure my 20's dialed in. When doing a sight tape like this, it's most important to make sure your 20 is about as perfect as you can get it. And so we're just going to keep drilling this target and making sure that we are spot on before we even try setting our 30, 40, and 50. So here we go. Alright, let's go check them out. Alright, so they look pretty good. About touching both there. One in there, one in on top. So we're gonna send another one, just make sure I'm good and warmed up, and try it again. Alright, as long as we look good here, this can be our last round at 20. Okay, let's go check it out. Alright, height wise, I'd say we are pretty darn good. Pulled that last shot a little right, but besides that, we're looking good for 20. So I'm just gonna pull these out and then start shooting at 30 and try to get that figured out. Alright, I'm gonna take my Sharpie and just mark this 20 spot. Okay, got that mark down there. And we're gonna fling some at 30 and try to guess where that's supposed to be. Alright, so I'm just going to do 2 arrows at a time until I get it pretty close, and then we'll start doing 6 and making sure it's pretty dialed in. Alright, for our first guess, that is pretty darn close. We're just going to have to move it up a little bit higher, closer to 20, and send 2 more. Okay, let's check them out. So here we are. This top one was a good shot. It's still a bit high. I dropped my armor a bit on this one, but I'm just gonna send 2 more at the same just to get a consistent result. Alright, I'm gonna fling 2 more at 30. Alright, let's check them out. So I flung 3. This one got caught by the wind pretty good. But these 2 are pretty close, so I'd say I go up just a tiny bit and we'll be good for 30. Alright, we moved our 30 up just a little bit. We'll send 3 more and see what we get. Alright, let's check them out. Okay, so not too bad. I dropped my arm on this 3rd one. That one. But the other 2 are alright. They're just a tiny bit high, I think, still, so I'm going to move it just a half a pin. And we're going to do 2, 2, and 2 again, just to see how we're doing. Alright, I got my sight moved up just a half a pin, and I don't know if you can see in the background, but this wind is ridiculous. It's like 25-mile-an-hour gusts right now. So I'm just doing my best. But as long as the height isn't affected, I don't care. Left and right is going to be blowing around a little bit. But we'll see how we do. Whoa. Looks like I'm going to blow away. Got some good shots that time, so see what we got. Okay, these two look really good. These two look really good. And wind took me for a ride on these ones, so I'm gonna say these are the good ones. They felt good, so we're gonna mark that and then move back to 40. Alright, I just came inside to take a break for a bit and noticed something that's probably hurt my situation. I don't know if it just happened coming inside or just shooting now or yesterday when I was shooting a bunch, but I noticed my scope housing is pretty loose on the shaft. I'll show you here. Look at that. It's very, very loose, and I don't know if I just bumped it coming in or what. It definitely wasn't like that this whole time, so I'm gonna have to tighten that up. Hopefully it's right on the axis there, but we're gonna tighten that up, take a bit of a break, and then go back out. Hopefully the wind has calmed down. If it is too windy, I'm just gonna take a break for today and revisit 40 yards another day. I'm gonna have to, after tightening that scope housing, I'm probably gonna have to shoot at 20 and 30 again just to make sure we are locked in. That could have been causing some of the inconsistencies I was seeing. So we're gonna do that and see if the wind comes down. If not, I'll see you back on another day. So I got lucky. I was double checking my 20 and 30 off camera, and it looks like they did not move from my scope housing being loose. So we're gonna go flank some at 40 and try to figure out where 40's hitting, and then gonna get a sight tape and see how close we are. Those shots actually felt pretty good. I had a little break from the wind for a tiny bit, and it looks like we might be about dead on. Okay, so here's my flyers. That one I dropped. That one I lifted a tiny bit. These two are a good group. This was a good shot. This was a good shot. So we're all, height is pretty much right if you look at the good ones. I'm gonna shoot another 6 and see what we got. All right, we're gonna shoot 6 more at 40. See how we do. Alright, I decided to send all these at the same dot just so I can get accurate. And not too bad. I had a few flyers. I'm honestly getting quite fatigued, but a little low that one. Here's the right height. These two are the right height. This is the right height. And this is the right height. Wind is kicking my butt left and right, but besides that, I'm gonna say our 40 height is good for now. Alright, we are back inside, and I have the sight tape I made. I don't know if it'll focus on it, but there it is. A few little dots, and now I'm gonna go through. Obviously, it's not a 40, so we're gonna go through and figure out which tape it would be. Hopefully I can use a metal tape. If not, then I'll just stick one on there. But I'll demonstrate on an 18. Kind of hard to film and do this, but line up your 20 and try to make it fairly straight. And you'll see that I need a smaller one because my marks are above each of theirs. So I'm just going to take the sight tape I made and go down the line. I'm going to line up to 40 because it is the smallest mark I made and most accurate. And try to get that and the 20 to line up. And then we can see where the 30 falls. You can see that. Hopefully I got it lined up properly. That 15 looks almost perfect. 14, I believe, is a bit too tight. Line up my 20. Yeah, the 40 is just under, or just past the 40. Yeah, so my 40 is just past the sight tape's 40. And this one is just about perfect. The 30 is right at the bottom of my mark, which is probably accurate. You're never going to get them to line up perfectly. You just kind of got to put them on, shoot it. I mean, sometimes you might get it if your mark is precise, but find the closest one and then go out and shoot it. So we're going to stick this 15 on this sight tape here. Unfortunately, I do not have a metal one. I have a 17, 18, and then a 14 and a 13, go figure. So that's alright. We're going to stick this on this 26 here, and we're going to just have to shoot it and fine tune it after that. So I'm just going to show you guys how I line these up and stick these stick-on sight tapes on. So you have this little line right under the 15 and above your 20, and you also have the same line on the actual sight tapes, metal sight tapes. So I just like to cut it right at that line, and then I stick it on right here and then follow along with my thumb to get it to stay on. I'll show you how to do that. Right at that line. So we have a reference, and this just helps keeping your 20 indicator exactly where it was, which if you have to move it, it's not that big of a deal. We're going to leave this tail on here for now. Okay, so we're going to peel it all the way off. And now we're going to just try to line this up. It can be kind of a pain. See, I just like to start low and keep my thumb here to stay on the edge. And once we get that lined up, we're just going to push down to get it to stay there. Alright, now we're going to hold it right at the top. And then sometimes you have to bend it like this to get it to line up. Pick it up a little bit and line it up as best you can at the bottom. And once it's lined up right, you start at the bottom here and then slide your finger all the way up. And then it should be just about perfect. If you can see right at the top, we are right at that white line. Could have gone a little higher, but that is okay. And now we peel up this tape here. And then we just snip off this little tail. Okay, snipped off the tail. And that is a 15 sight tape. So just so I can remember and I can reuse it if I have to, I'm just gonna write a 15 down here. And we are good to go. So our sight tape is now mounted in there. All we have to do is loosen this indicator screw with our sight set at our 20 stop. We're gonna just bump this over until it lines up perfectly with 20. Right about there. We're gonna lock that in. Make sure it doesn't move when you touch it, because mine did a tiny bit. We're gonna lock that in there, just like that. And we are good to go. Now we have our sight tape on there. Okay, that is going to conclude episode 2 on my journey from amateur to ASA. And so we got new arrows, we got a sight tape, and we have the limbs, so we are all set for that. I might have to go up or down a sight tape, just gonna have to fine tune it, shoot it, and see how it does out to like 50 and 60 and all that. But yeah, we are in a good spot. I'm like how we're shooting. Next video is probably going to be working on form and other things like that, and more upgrades coming in the future. But thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you. Whoa.